What you gonna do when it all comes back to the place that you never wanted it to come back to? And where you gonna roll when the bottom drops out and you got no place to go? Who you gonna trust when trust is a must? You better roll with the rest of us. So pack your bags and all the faith you can, cause it's about ready to hit the fan. Come to the ready. 2012 brought about the re-election of an antichrist. Come to the ready. You don't believe me, just look deep into the soul of the liars.
Good evening, YouTube. How are you doing? Well, this is going to be part 7. This is the culmination of all the videos that we've been doing. Again, my name is Pierce Kibbe. I'm the founder and chief instructor for Practice Inc., a locally owned and veteran-owned business here in Lakeland, Florida. My contact information is up here if you need it. That's our website and my phone number if you got any questions or comments or suggestions. Our motto, making tactical practical. And hopefully, during this last 6 videos, going on 7 now with tonight's video, has helped make situational awareness a little bit more practical for you. As opposed to just hearing, keep your head on a swivel, stay in yellow, and pay attention to your surroundings. Hopefully you have a better understanding, if you started from the beginning up till now, about what situational awareness really is and the 6 domains of it. So, let's go into part 7, right? So, what is your definition of situational awareness again? Just like we talked about at the beginning, everybody's got their own little bit of a version. What's yours? So our first video we started off with was baseline, and that is establishing the baseline of your environment, right? You can't build a house without a foundation. Well, you can't have all the 6 domains of situational awareness without really having a baseline, having a good foundation. So, what is that? Well, that baseline is we're looking for what is happening that normally it doesn't, and what isn't happening that normally does. And we're looking for those clusters, those groups of anomalies that add up, not just one, to where we're thinking, oh, we saw something, the sky is falling. We want to have clusters. We want to have those groups and say, you know what? I noticed something based on body language or kinesics. I noticed something based on biometric cues, flushed face, or they were smiling, different things like that. What about proximity? Well, I noticed by their proxemics, their proximity, that something wasn't quite right. Normally, I don't really know them, and they were just closing that distance even though I told them to stop. Why were they doing that? Then you worked on the iconography, the geographics, and now we're going into atmospherics, right? So we started here with the baseline, moved into kinesics or body language. Then our next video was biometrics, followed by proxemics, geographics, iconography, and ending with atmospherics. So, what are they? Atmospherics are the moods and emotions and are true responses to the situations. What does that mean? Well, think about this. How does either one of these pictures make you feel? If I ask you to look at this picture, just take 5 seconds and look at that picture. What does that make you feel like? How does your mood change? Does it? Does your day suddenly get better? Do you suddenly feel more relaxed? Do you suddenly feel like, yeah, I can do that. I can kick back and relax right now? Or what if we take 5 seconds and we look at this? This is a beach over in China. This is a beach here in Florida. How does that picture make you feel? You have a lot of groups. You have a lot of people. So what is going to match that baseline, and what's going to match that baseline? What about iconography? What about clothing? What about proximity? The proximity of somebody in here near you, you're going to have to deal with. That's part of that baseline. Proximity to somebody being here right up on you does not fit that baseline, right? What about clothing? Clothing's about the same at the beach, right? Icons, really not anything there other than the beach. But you can look at the proxemics. You can look at biometric cues. You can look at the kinesics, the body language. If you happen to notice somebody that just doesn't fit in. Are they out on the beach wearing a jacket? Are they wearing shoes? Are they wearing boots? Are they carrying anything like a weighted backpack? Do they fit that baseline? So that atmosphere should make you feel relaxed. That atmosphere will probably make you feel more tense. Now, if for some crazy reason it's the reverse, I don't know what to tell you, other than maybe you need to spend some more time relaxing at that type of beach than that one. So, what are the atmospherics? Well, again, Wikipedia. Effects intended to create a particular atmosphere or mood, especially with music. Have you ever listened to certain music and it helps change your mood a little bit? If you're going to go work out, do you typically play something very relaxing like a classical or a jazz? Probably not. Doesn't mean that you don't, but for a lot of people, you want something with a rougher beat, right? You want something with a lot of bass, more words that get you motivated, different things like that. In the military or getting ready to go do certain things, we listen to more rock and different things like that to get pumped, to get motivated. And we didn't spend a lot of time listening to something to mellow us down. We wanted to bring it up, right? Our heart rate, our respirations, all of those biometric cues, believe it or not, if you listen to that music, they change. As opposed to if you're listening to something that's a little bit more mellow, right? So what is your preferred atmosphere? If you had to pick one, whether it's those two pictures or many others. Mine is the woods. Mine is the mountains. Colorado is my home, and that is what I find relaxing, is being out in nature, being out in the wilderness. That's what I love. The beach, honestly, is not really my go-to. And certainly not the crowded beach. That is definitely not my go-to. How can your mood change your emotions? Again, looking at those two pictures. Did those two pictures change a day that was maybe a little bit rough? And you go, you know what? I took those few 5 seconds and just breathed. And, I feel a little bit better. My mood's a little bit better. Or you looked at the picture on the right and maybe your respirations and your biometric cues increased because that made you feel a little bit more anxious, right? Do you pay attention to your emotions or the atmosphere when you walk into or out of a situation? Remember, you got to be proactive, right? So if you're walking into a store or a library or a business or your work and you're too distracted by your phone, or you walk into the bank and you're too distracted by that phone, and you open that door, you're not paying attention, and you suddenly walk in that door and you hear, "Nobody move, get on the ground." Are you being proactive or reactive? Did you take the time before you walked into an unknown environment, because you weren't in there so you don't really know what's going on? Did you take that time to try to look into that window and assess the situation? Because you knew the baseline. You knew that during this normal Monday through Friday day, at this time that you go, whether it's during lunch or whether it's in the evening or before work or whatever, does all the situational awareness domains match what normally should be happening but isn't, or what isn't happening that normally should be? Which one does it go with? Because if you walk in there, now you're suddenly reactive and you're in that reactionary gap, right? So the time that it takes you to recognize what is going on, the intent of what is going on, and then formulate a plan, whether it's through your short-term memory or your long-term memory, or if you have any training or experience or memory at all. And then you have to, once you formulate that plan, now you have to act upon that plan, right? And during that whole time, you're having to deal with the fight or flight, or freeze, posture, or submit. So your body is trying to take all that into account. Your limbic system kicked in. You have the adrenal dump going through you, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Do you make the right decision based on training, experience, knowledge? Or do you suddenly, in that reactionary phase, make a poor decision because you did not have any current training or any training at all, or knowledge? I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I know that before I walk into a building or a restaurant or a gas station, I always stop and just do a hasty assessment, do a hasty baseline assessment of that environment and assess for those domains. Is there anything that's really sticking out? Is the cashier, who's normally off to my right, who's always over there, who's kind of paying attention, looking around, assessing the store? Are they suddenly not making eye contact? Are they suddenly focused on somebody in front of them and very tense, very rigid? What is their body language telling me? Think about some of the movies that maybe you watched as a kid. Did you ever walk into a place, or even think about being a tourist, and you didn't really do your research and you walked into a place and the atmosphere changed? Originally, when it walked in there, it was very loud. And then as soon as you walk through that door, conversation stops or gets very quiet. And body language is everybody's looking at you. Why are they looking at you? Because you don't fit the baseline. As I learned from living in Tennessee when I moved from Colorado, you ain't from around here, are you? No, I wasn't. And I didn't fit that baseline. And it took time to figure out what that baseline was. That baseline can be with the language, with the pace, how fast somebody is walking, or how slow and methodical they are. How fast somebody really talks and, hey, what are you doing? How you doing? Where have you been? Blah, 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 blah. Or, how you doing? How's the family? Takes that time. Everybody's got their own comfort level. What's yours? Be proactive, right? Not reactive. Take that time. Whatever you're doing on that phone is not worth your life. And it certainly shouldn't be worth family, loved ones, or maybe even some bystander, because you didn't take that time to just look around. And I understand, with kids, with family, with work, with everything else going on, it's very easy to get sucked into that. Well, I gotta go, I've got so many things to do. Take that time. Take just a few seconds and do that hasty assessment and find out, is that what should normally be happening, or is it not? And why? What is different? Those 6 domains, is it the kinesics? Is it the body language? Is it the biometric cues? Is it the proxemics, the proximity to people and objects? Is it the geographics, where you're located? Is it the iconography, what type of clothing people are wearing, what kind of icons are around that area? Or is it the atmospherics, the general mood of the place? A place that you go to that's usually a happy place, where people are smiling and they're enjoying themselves, whether it be a club or a bar or an amusement park or just a fair. Assess it. Figure out why. Look for those clusters or those groups of clues that stand out to you. And remember, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, concerns, please feel free to put them in there. I put this out there to try to help you. Yes, this is normally part of a presentation that I give to companies and different folks for religious organizations, houses of worship, different things like that. But in all honesty, it will do you more good to have it in your hands rather than having to go and find and take the time and the money to get some of this knowledge. This is just skimming the surface. So in summary, what's the main things that I want you to take out of it? Now, hopefully you took the time and you watched all these videos. And I understand, everybody's busy, but I really hope that you took the time and were proactive in watching these videos and researching more into these topics. There's a lot of great information out there. This is just, again, scratching the surface, but hopefully you got some good tips out of it, right? So what I want you to leave with is a summary. So when assessing your 6 domains and establishing your baseline, keep it simple. Don't make it too complex. It's easy to get overwhelmed, right? We talked about that. 1, STOP. Remember that acronym, STOP. It comes into survival in many different circumstances when we're talking about urban and wilderness survival scenarios, and it comes into place for this. What's that S stand for? It stands for stop. We're very familiar with that, right? T stands for think. O stands for observe, and P is for plan. Perform your hasty assessment, and while utilizing that STOP, S-T-O-P, stop, think, observe, and plan, and perform that hasty assessment of your area. Be proactive with that hasty assessment. Don't wait until you're in a scenario where you walk in that could have been prevented by not paying attention to Facebook or checking out your likes or any other number of things. Stop before you walk in there. Trust your gut and your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, break it down into those 6 domains and figure it out. Sometimes you get false positives. I didn't mention that. It's not infallible. Nothing is. But the more trained and the more honed you are, the more things will stand out to you. So take that time, pay attention, look for those clusters, look for those groups of anomalies that really stand out. And remember, after doing all this, what isn't happening that normally does, or what is happening that shouldn't be. And remember, Proverbs 22:3, New Living Translation says, "The prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences." Which one are you?